Hey, are you ready to make progress in your guitar playing? Well, I know there's a million guitar lessons and teachers out there on the internet, but I actually have a very unique and simple way to help you expand your musical vocabulary on the guitar neck without learning a whole lot of music theory or anything like that. What I'm going to show you is some very simple 2, 3, 4, and 6 note patterns that you can connect all across the guitar neck in any key. So if you've ever felt stuck in a box, for example, playing vertically on the guitar neck, and you want to get some fluency moving across the neck in any key, major or minor, then this just might be the course for you. This is just a sample of what's inside. So take a look, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope it improves your expressibility on your guitar. If you're like most guitar players, you've been struggling to connect the major scale patterns all around your neck. And that's probably because most guitar instructors and most lessons focus on teaching the major scale using complicated box patterns. For example, this pattern is very common. But that pattern has 18 notes to remember, and there are 7 of those patterns that you need to memorize in order to move horizontally on the neck. So you can learn that pattern and have some vertical motion across your strings, but it doesn't really help you if you want to move horizontally on the strings. So I have a different way of helping you master the guitar neck using much simpler patterns. So in my courses, you're going to learn 2-note patterns. For example, that could be pattern 1. This could be pattern 2. This could be pattern 3. This could be pattern 4, pattern 5, pattern 6, pattern 7. So 2 notes at a time is a whole lot easier than remembering 18 notes at a time, and it gets you comfortable moving horizontally on the neck. And from there we can build up to 3 notes at a time. Pattern 1, pattern 2, pattern 3, and so forth. And eventually we'll learn how to do 6 notes at a time across 2 strings. Pattern 1, pattern 2. So with each of those building blocks or Lego blocks, you're going to find that you can navigate the guitar neck in any key, up and down the guitar neck, in any major or minor key. So this is a really powerful learning technique that I think is going to open up your guitar playing in ways that you never thought possible. So stay tuned. All right. In this lesson, we're going to look at 3-note major scale patterns on a single guitar string. So I'm going to show you the patterns first so you can visually get used to how they look. And then I'm going to show you the patterns in a particular key on the guitar, in the key of G. So the first pattern here is pattern 1. It's a stretch pattern. It's a whole note followed by a whole note. So we're going to play a note, we're going to skip a fret, we're going to play a note, we're going to skip a fret, and then we're going to play a note. So we're going to stretch. So typically this is played with your first finger, followed by your middle finger, followed by your pinky. Pattern number 2 is a whole step followed by a half step. So that would be what I think of as a ring finger pattern. So we're going to play a note with our first finger, we're going to skip a fret, we're going to use our ring finger to hit the second note, and then our pinky to hit the last note. So if you want to see what this looks like in a particular key, we're going to look at it in the key of G on the guitar. Now these are all movable patterns, so the key is just where the first note in the first pattern begins. So because I've started this on the 3rd fret of my guitar on the low E string, that is a G note. So we're playing the patterns in the key of G here. So notice that the first pattern is a stretch from the 3rd fret to the 5th fret to the 7th fret. And pattern 2 is a ring finger pattern where we're going to play the 5th fret with our first finger, we're going to play the 7th fret with our ring finger, and our 8th fret with our pinky. All right, so that's what the patterns are. Let's look at how to play those on the guitar. All right, let's look at a 1-string major pattern in the key of G. So our first pattern, since we're playing in the key of G, is going to start here on my low E string on the 3rd fret. because that's a G note. So we're going to play the G note. We're going to skip a fret, play the 5th fret, and then we're going to skip a fret and play the 7th fret. So note the fingering: first finger, middle finger, pinky. That's our first pattern. All right, let's look at major scale pattern number 2. In order to know where to start pattern number 2, we need to find the second tone of the prior pattern. So our prior pattern was pattern 1, if you remember. And the second tone is right here on the 5th fret. That's the second tone we played in that pattern. That's where pattern 2 is going to begin. So pattern 2 starts on the 5th fret in the key of G. So we're going to play the 5th fret, skip a fret, a whole note to the 7th fret, and then a half step to the 8th fret. The fingering of pattern 2 is first finger, ring finger, and pinky. So now that we have pattern 1 and pattern 2, let's look at how we connect those patterns going down the neck in this direction and also up the neck going in that direction. So if I want to connect pattern 1 and 2 going down the neck, I play pattern 1, then I slide up to the second tone of pattern 1 to play pattern 2. So going down the neck, pattern 1, pattern 2. Well, what about going up the neck? That's a little bit trickier because what we need to do is find the last tone in the prior pattern. So if you remember pattern 1, our last tone was right there on the 7th fret. So here, if I'm on the 2 pattern, I slide up to the 7th fret to play pattern 1 going in that direction. So I've got pattern 1, pattern 2 going down the neck, and then pattern 2 going to pattern 1 going up the neck.